Before kingdoms rose and nations took shape, a single family story unfolded that would alter the course of history. At the center of it stands Jacob, a man whose life was marked by struggle, ambition, failure, and transformation. His journey is neither polished nor predictable. It is raw, complex, and deeply human, revealing how divine purpose often works through flawed vessels. Jacob's story pulls back the curtain on a world where determination can blur into manipulation and blessing can arrive through unexpected paths. From his earliest moments, conflict surrounded him, shaping a destiny filled with tension and promise. This is a narrative that forces us to wrestle with difficult questions about character, consequences, and the patience of God. It reminds us that growth is rarely immediate and that transformation often comes through hardship rather than comfort. The account begins quietly yet powerfully in Genesis 25, with a household burdened by longing. Isaac and Rebekah carried the ache of unanswered prayers, waiting for the fulfillment of a promise that seemed delayed. When Isaac cried out to the Lord on behalf of his wife, heaven responded. Rebekah conceived, and with that answered prayer came a future far greater than anyone could imagine, a future that would shape generations. From this moment, the stage is set for a story filled with rivalry, unexpected reversals, and divine intervention. Jacob's life will take us through moments of triumph and shame, faith and fear, distance from God and intimate encounters with Him. As this story unfolds, it reveals a profound truth. God's plans are not hindered by human weakness. Instead, they move forward through it. Prepare to step into a story that challenges assumptions, stirs the heart, and reveals how grace can emerge from even the most complicated beginnings. In the ancient world, childlessness carried a heavy stigma, and Rebekah bore that weight for 2 long decades. Year after year passed with no child, no heir, no visible sign of the promise spoken over Abraham's family. Imagine the quiet sorrow that settled into their lives. They stood as inheritors of a covenant, yet their household remained empty. When God finally responded to Isaac's prayer, the answer arrived wrapped in turmoil rather than peace. Scripture records that the children struggled within Rebekah's womb, causing her deep distress. She cried out, asking why this was happening to her. Troubled and searching for meaning, she sought the Lord. The response she received was extraordinary. God declared that 2 nations were growing within her, 2 peoples destined to part ways. One would rise stronger than the other, and the older would ultimately serve the younger. This pregnancy carried more than physical strain. It carried prophecy. The struggle in her womb pointed ahead to lifelong conflict, not only between 2 brothers, but between entire nations. God reversed human expectations before either child took a breath. From the very beginning, divine purpose challenged social norms and birth order. When the time came to give birth, the tension reached its peak. Twin sons emerged. The first was red in appearance, his body covered with hair, and he was named Esau. Moments later, his brother followed, gripping Esau's heel as he entered the world. Because of this, he was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. Their differences were unmistakable from the start. Esau's appearance hinted at a rugged, impulsive nature shaped by strength and action. Jacob's entrance told a different story. His grasp suggested persistence, strategy, and a will that refused to let go. As the boys matured, their paths separated further. Esau became a skilled hunter, comfortable in the open land, embodying the warrior ideal of his time. Jacob preferred the tents, a quieter life centered on home and family. These contrasts shaped the hearts of their parents. Isaac favored Esau, drawn to his strength and the food he provided. Rebekah favored Jacob. This imbalance within the household planted seeds of tension that would later grow into lasting division. Favoritism, even when unspoken, has consequences that echo beyond childhood. A defining moment arrived through an event that appeared ordinary on the surface. Jacob was preparing a stew when Esau returned from the fields exhausted and hungry. Desperate, Esau demanded some of the red stew. His hunger was so intense that it earned him the name Edom. Jacob seized the moment. He demanded the birthright in exchange for the meal. Esau, overwhelmed by immediate need, dismissed the value of his inheritance. He swore an oath, surrendered his birthright, and ate. When he finished, he rose and walked away, showing contempt for what he had given up. This exchange exposed the inner character of both brothers. Esau acted on impulse, allowing the present moment to outweigh future responsibility. The birthright, a position of honor and spiritual leadership, meant little to him in the face of hunger. Jacob, however, revealed calculated intent. He recognized the worth of what was being offered and acted decisively. His methods raised questions, but his actions showed clarity about the significance of covenant blessings. This moment became a defining symbol. Esau's carelessness stood in contrast to Jacob's ambition. Scripture offers no immediate verdict on Jacob's behavior here, but the consequences of this decision would unfold over time, shaping generations to come. The birthright represented more than property or status. It carried spiritual authority and responsibility tied to God's promises. By rejecting it, Esau revealed a disregard for what had been entrusted to his family. For Jacob, this was only the beginning. His pursuit of blessing would continue, often through struggle and risk. His resolve would lead him into conflict, danger, and transformation. Years later, another critical moment approached. Isaac, now elderly and nearly blind, sensed that his life was nearing its end. He called for Esau and instructed him to hunt and prepare the meal he loved so that he might pronounce a blessing before death. This blessing carried prophetic weight. It would determine leadership, inheritance, and destiny. Isaac's request revealed his lingering preference for Esau, despite the earlier exchange of the birthright. Whether he knew of the agreement or chose to dismiss it remains unclear. As Isaac spoke, Rebekah listened. When Esau left for the hunt, she immediately turned to Jacob. She repeated Isaac's words and issued firm instructions. Jacob was to bring young goats from the flock so she could prepare a meal that would satisfy Isaac. Jacob would then present it to his father and receive the blessing intended for Esau. Rebekah's plan was daring and dangerous. She positioned herself against her husband's intentions and placed Jacob at great personal risk. What followed would alter the course of their family forever. Her choices reveal a layered blend of intention and resolve. She was driven by a conviction that God's spoken word would come to pass, that the older would serve the younger. Added to this was her clear preference for Jacob, and perhaps her judgment that he was better suited to carry the family's future. The meal she prepared was only the opening move. This moment unfolds in Genesis 27 verses 11 to 17. Jacob raised a serious concern. He said to his mother Rebekah, "My brother Esau is covered with hair, but my skin is smooth. What if my father touches me? I would seem like a deceiver and bring a curse on myself instead of a blessing." His mother answered without hesitation, "Let the curse fall on me, my son. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me." Jacob obeyed. He brought the animals to his mother, and she prepared the rich food Isaac loved. Rebekah then took Esau's finest clothes, the ones kept in the house, and dressed Jacob in them. She covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with goat skins. Finally, she placed the food and bread she had prepared into Jacob's hands. This scene exposes Jacob's reluctance, rooted not in ethics, but in fear of exposure. Rebekah's response, accepting responsibility for any curse, shows how determined she was to see her plan succeed. The careful disguise demonstrates how far they were willing to go to mislead Isaac. The tension intensifies in Genesis 27 verses 18 and 29. Jacob entered his father's presence and said, "My father." "I am here," Isaac replied. "Who are you, my son?" Jacob answered, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you asked. Please sit up and eat so that you may bless me." Isaac questioned him, "How did you find it so quickly?" Jacob replied, "The Lord your God granted me success." Still uncertain, Isaac said, "Come closer so I can touch you and know whether you truly are my son Esau." Genesis chapter 27 verses 22 and 23 continues. Jacob stepped forward. Isaac felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like Esau's, and so he blessed him. Isaac's senses were in conflict. Touch convinced him, while sound raised doubt. Trusting what he felt over what he heard, he moved forward. The blessing itself, recorded in Genesis 27 verses 27 to 29, was sweeping and weighty. He smelled the garments and said, "The scent of my son is like a field the Lord has blessed. May God give you heaven's dew and earth's abundance, plenty of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow before you. Be master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." This spoken word carried promises of provision, authority, and divine favor. It echoed the declaration made before the twins were born. Moments later, Esau returned from the hunt. Genesis chapter 27 verses 30 to 35 recounts the discovery. He prepared his meal and brought it to his father. "My father, please eat so you may bless me." Isaac asked, "Who are you?" "I am Esau, your firstborn." Isaac shook violently. "Who was it then that brought me food? I ate it before you arrived, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard this, he cried out bitterly, "Bless me too, my father." But Isaac said, "Your brother came by deception and took your blessing." Isaac's trembling reveals the shock of realization. His words confirm that the blessing, once spoken, stood firm. Esau's grief follows in Genesis chapter 27 verses 36 to 38. Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? He has taken from me twice, first my birthright, and now my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you saved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered, "I have made him master over you and sustained him with abundance. What is left for you?" Esau pleaded, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too." And he wept aloud. His anguish runs deep, revealing only now an understanding of what he had surrendered earlier. Isaac then spoke a lesser blessing in Genesis 27 verses 39 and 40. "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven. You will live by the sword and serve your brother. Yet when you grow restless, you will break his yoke from your neck." This word foretold hardship, but also a future release from subjection. Esau's anger hardened into resolve. Genesis 27 verse 41 records that he held resentment and said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob." The threat was immediate. Action was required. Genesis chapter 27 verses 42 to 45 details Rebekah's response. When she learned of Esau's intent, she called Jacob and said, "Your brother is planning to kill you. Now listen carefully. Go at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay there until your brother's anger fades. When he forgets what has happened, I will send for you. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Once again, Rebekah's strategic mind moves swiftly, setting the next chapter into motion. She does more than shield Jacob from Esau's immediate fury. She safeguards the continuation of the covenant line. Her final words reveal a fear that reaches beyond Jacob's safety. She also trembles at what Esau would bring upon himself if he shed his brother's blood. This decision sets the stage for Jacob's departure toward Haran, as recorded in Genesis chapter 28. Verse 1 marks a turning point in Jacob's life. Isaac summoned his son, placed his hands upon him, and spoke a blessing, this time with intention and clarity. Then came a firm command. "You must not take a wife from among the Canaanite women. Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the household of Bethuel, your mother's father. There, take a wife for yourself from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you, make you fruitful, and increase your numbers until you become a gathering of peoples. May he pass on to you and to your descendants the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may possess the land where you now live as a foreigner, the land God granted to Abraham." With that, Isaac sent Jacob on his way. Jacob traveled to Paddan Aram, to Laban son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of both Jacob and Esau. This passage reveals something significant. Despite the earlier deception, Isaac submits to God's purpose and blesses Jacob again, this time knowingly. He also gives precise guidance concerning marriage, underscoring the importance of preserving the family line. Jacob leaves behind a fractured household and a brother burning with anger. His journey toward Haran becomes more than an escape. It marks the beginning of inward change. The events ahead will shape his identity and prepare him for the name Israel, father of the 12 tribes. This account reminds us that human decisions, even those driven by fear or ambition, can be woven into God's greater design. It also exposes the lasting weight of our choices and the complexity of family bonds. Genesis 28 verses 10 and 11 trace the first steps of Jacob's journey. He leaves Beersheba and sets out for Haran. When night falls, he stops at a certain place. With no shelter, he takes one of the stones, rests his head upon it, and lies down to sleep. For the first time, Jacob is alone. separated from home, cut off from familiarity, sleeping beneath an open sky with a stone as his pillow. It is here, in this moment of uncertainty, that God reveals himself in an extraordinary way. Genesis 28, verses 12 through 15, describes Jacob's well-known dream. He sees a stairway set upon the earth, its top reaching into the heavens. Angels of God move upward and downward along it. Above it stands the Lord. I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your offspring will be like the dust of the earth, spreading west and east, north and south. All the families of the earth will be blessed through you and through your descendants. I am with you. I will guard you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have accomplished what I have promised. This vision reveals the constant connection between heaven and earth and affirms God's nearness in Jacob's life. The covenant given to Abraham and Isaac is now spoken directly over Jacob. Jacob's response, recorded in Genesis 28, verses 16 through 22, shows a deep internal shift. When he awakens, he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." Fear fills him, and he declares, "How awe-inspiring is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven." At dawn, Jacob takes the stone he had used as a pillow, sets it upright as a pillar, and pours oil over it. He names the place Bethel, though it was formerly called Luz. Then Jacob makes a vow. "If God will be with me, watch over me on this journey, provide food to eat and clothing to wear, and bring me safely back to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God. This stone will mark God's house, and from all that you give me, I will give a tenth." This vow signals the beginning of a personal relationship with God. For the first time, Jacob acknowledges the Lord not only as the God of his fathers, but as his own. Genesis 29, verses 1 through 12, describe Jacob's arrival in Haran and his meeting with Rachel at the well. He comes to the land of the eastern peoples and sees a well in a field. 3 flocks lie nearby, waiting to be watered, for a large stone covers the well's opening. The shepherds explain that the stone is removed only when all the flocks are gathered. Jacob asks where they are from. "Haran," they reply. He asks if they know Laban, the grandson of Nahor. They answer that they do, and point out Rachel approaching with her father's sheep. As Rachel arrives, Jacob steps forward, rolls the stone away by himself, and waters Laban's flock. He then kisses Rachel and weeps aloud. He tells her he is her father's relative, the son of Rebekah. She runs to bring the news to her father. This meeting echoes earlier moments in his family's history, including the way Rebekah was found. Jacob's removal of the heavy stone demonstrates both strength and his eagerness to act. Genesis 29, verses 13 and 14, describe Laban's reaction. When he hears of Jacob's arrival, he rushes out to meet him, embraces him, kisses him, and brings him into his home. After hearing Jacob's account, Laban declares, "You are truly my own flesh and blood." Yet this warm welcome soon shifts. Genesis 29, verses 15 through 20, introduce a new arrangement. Laban says, "Should you work for me without pay simply because you are my relative? Tell me what your wages should be." Laban has 2 daughters. The older is Leah, the younger is Rachel. Leah was described as having delicate eyes, while Rachel possessed a graceful form and striking beauty. Jacob's heart was drawn to Rachel, and he approached her father with a proposal. "I will serve you 7 years, Jacob said, "if you will give me your younger daughter, Rachel, as my wife." Laban responded with measured approval, saying it would be better for Rachel to marry Jacob than another man. He invited Jacob to remain with him, and the agreement was set. He asks if they know Laban, the grandson of Nahor. They answer that they do, and point out Rachel approaching with her father's sheep. As Rachel arrives, Jacob steps forward, rolls the stone away by himself, and waters Laban's flock. He then kisses Rachel and weeps aloud. He tells her he is her father's relative, the son of Rebekah. She runs to bring the news to her father. This meeting echoes earlier moments in his family's history, including the way Rebekah was found. Jacob's removal of the heavy stone demonstrates both strength and his eagerness to act. Genesis 29, verses 13 and 14, describe Laban's reaction. When he hears of Jacob's arrival, he rushes out to meet him, embraces him, kisses him, and brings him into his home. After hearing Jacob's account, Laban declares, "You are truly my own flesh and blood." Yet this warm welcome soon shifts. Genesis 29, verses 15 through 20, introduce a new arrangement. Laban says, "Should you work for me without pay simply because you are my relative? Tell me what your wages should be." Laban has 2 daughters. The older is Leah, the younger is Rachel. Leah was described as having delicate eyes, while Rachel possessed a graceful form and striking beauty. Jacob's heart was drawn to Rachel, and he approached her father with a proposal. "I will serve you 7 years," Jacob said, "if you will give me your younger daughter, Rachel, as my wife." Laban responded with measured approval, saying it would be better for Rachel to marry Jacob than another man. He invited Jacob to remain with him, and the agreement was set. Jacob worked 7 years for Rachel, yet the time passed swiftly in his mind, shortened by the depth of his affection for her. This arrangement exposes more than devotion. It also reflects Jacob's strategic nature. The years of labor stand in sharp contrast to his earlier life. The man who once gained advantage through deception now submits himself to long, disciplined service. The events that followed are recorded in Genesis chapter 29. When the appointed time had passed, Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My service is complete, and I wish to begin my life with her." Laban gathered the people of the region and prepared a feast. As evening fell, he brought Leah to Jacob instead. Unaware in the darkness of the celebration, Jacob consummated the marriage. Laban also gave Leah his servant Zilpah to attend her. At dawn, the truth was revealed. It was Leah. Jacob confronted Laban, his voice filled with disbelief. "What have you done to me? I served you for Rachel. Why have you misled me?" The moment carries deep irony. Years earlier, Jacob had taken advantage of his blind father. Now, under cover of night, he himself has been misled. His question echoes the pain his own actions once caused. Laban answered by appealing to local custom. He explained that the older daughter must be married before the younger. He proposed a second agreement. Jacob was to complete Leah's bridal week, and then Rachel would also be given to him, on the condition of another 7 years of service. Jacob agreed. He fulfilled the week with Leah, and afterward Laban gave Rachel to him as his wife. Rachel was given her own attendant, Bilhah. Jacob married Rachel as well, and his affection for her exceeded his feelings for Leah. He then committed himself to serve Laban for an additional 7 years. Now Jacob was married to 2 sisters, a household arrangement that would shape years of strain and rivalry. His partiality toward Rachel mirrored the divided love he had known growing up, continuing a pattern of favoritism and conflict. Children were born amid this tension. Leah conceived first and gave birth to Reuben, then Simeon, followed by Levi, and then Judah. Rachel remained unable to conceive. In her distress, she gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob, and Bilhah bore Dan and Naphtali. When Leah's pregnancies paused, she followed the same course and gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob. Zilpah bore Gad and Asher. Leah later conceived again and gave birth to Issachar and Zebulun. Finally, Rachel conceived and bore Joseph. Each birth carried emotional weight. The names given to the children reflected longing, rivalry, gratitude, and hope. Motherhood became the measure through which affection and worth were pursued within the household. The years in Haran reshaped Jacob's life. He arrived as a solitary man and became the head of a large and intricate family. Through hardship, labor, and internal conflict, he began to face the lasting effects of his earlier choices. At the same time, the promise spoken over his life continued to unfold. After Joseph's birth, Jacob approached Laban once more. He expressed his desire to return to his own land and people. "Send me on my way," he said. "You know the service I have given you. Let me take my wives and children and return home." Laban resisted. He urged Jacob to remain, explaining that he had come to understand that his own prosperity was tied to Jacob's presence. He invited Jacob to name his wages, promising to meet whatever terms were set. This exchange highlights the growing divide between Jacob's longing for home and Laban's determination to retain him. Jacob proposed a wage that appeared to favor Laban, only the speckled and spotted animals from the flocks. Yet over time, Jacob's herds multiplied greatly and his wealth increased. Resentment began to surface among Laban's sons, who accused Jacob of enriching himself at their father's expense. Jacob also observed a change in Laban's attitude toward him. Then the Lord spoke to Jacob, instructing him to return to the land of his ancestors, with the assurance of divine presence along the journey. Jacob called Rachel and Leah to the fields and explained the situation. He recounted a dream in which God had directed him to leave, and he described their father's repeated unfair dealings. Both women agreed, acknowledging that they no longer held an inheritance in their father's household. When Laban left to shear his sheep, Jacob prepared his departure. He placed his wives and children on camels, gathered his livestock and possessions, and set out toward the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. During this time, Rachel took her father's household idols. Jacob departed without informing Laban, crossing the Euphrates and moving toward the hill country of Gilead. Rachel's action introduces further tension, suggesting unresolved ties and hidden motives that would soon come to light. The pursuit of Laban is recorded in Genesis 31, verses 22 to 25. On the third day, Laban was informed that Jacob had fled. Without delay, he gathered his relatives and set out in pursuit. For 7 days, Laban chased Jacob, finally overtaking him in the hill country of Gilead. That night, God appeared to Laban the Aramean in a dream and warned him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Jacob had pitched his tent in the hills of Gilead, and when Laban caught up, he and his relatives camped nearby. This divine warning reveals that God's protection remained over Jacob, even during moments when Jacob's own decisions were morally complex. The confrontation on Mount Gilead unfolds in Genesis chapter 31, verses 26 to 42. Laban accuses Jacob of fleeing in secret and of stealing his household gods, unaware that Rachel had taken them. Jacob, confident in his innocence, permits Laban to search the entire camp. Rachel, seated on the stolen idols, deceives her father by explaining that she cannot rise because she is experiencing her monthly cycle. This prevents Laban from searching the place where she sits. After the search yields nothing, Jacob releases years of restrained frustration. His words pour out with raw honesty. "For 20 years I was with you. Your sheep and goats never miscarried, and I did not eat the rams of your flocks. I did not bring you animals torn by wild beasts. I bore the loss myself. You demanded payment from me for whatever was stolen, whether by day or by night. The heat consumed me during the day, the cold pierced me at night, and sleep fled from my eyes. This was my life for 20 years in your household. I worked 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been with me, you would surely have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship and the labor of my hands, and last night he rebuked you." This declaration exposes Jacob's deep sense of injustice and his growing awareness that divine intervention, not human manipulation, has sustained him. The covenant between Jacob and Laban is established in Genesis 31 verses 43 through 55. They erect a heap of stones as a witness, marking a boundary neither would cross to harm the other. Laban names the heap Jegar Sahadutha in Aramaic, while Jacob calls it Galid in Hebrew, both meaning heap of witness. Early the next morning, Laban kisses his grandchildren and his daughters and blesses them. Then he departs and returns home. Jacob leaves Haran no longer as a young man, but as the patriarch of a large and flourishing household. The encounter with angels is briefly recorded in Genesis 32 verses 1 and 2. As Jacob continues his journey, the angels of God meet him. When he sees them, he declares, "This is the camp of God," and names the place Mahanaim. This moment reinforces the reality of God's abiding presence, preparing Jacob for what lies ahead. The preparation for meeting Esau is described in Genesis chapter 32 verses 3 through 21. Jacob sends messengers ahead, informing Esau of his return. When they come back reporting that Esau is approaching with 400 men, fear grips Jacob's heart. He divides his people into 2 camps, reasoning that if one is attacked, the other may escape. Then Jacob turns to prayer. "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, Lord, you who said to me, 'Return to your country and your relatives, and I will make you prosper.' I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. I crossed this Jordan with only my staff, and now I have become 2 camps. Save me, I pray, from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid he will come and attack me, and also the mothers with their children. But you have said, 'I will surely make you prosper, and will make your descendants like the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted.'" This prayer exposes the tension within Jacob, fear wrestling against trust, as he clings to God's promises while confessing his own frailty. Jacob also prepares a generous gift for Esau, sending it ahead in separate groups, hoping to soften his brother's response. The man who once fled his homeland in fear now returns as a wealthy patriarch, still carrying the weight of his past choices and the depth of his dependence on God. Genesis chapter 32 verses 22 to 32 recounts one of the most mysterious and transformative moments of Jacob's life, his struggle at Peniel. That night, Jacob rises and takes his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crosses the ford of the Jabbok. After sending them and all his possessions across the stream, Jacob is left alone, and a man wrestles with him until daybreak. This nocturnal struggle mirrors Jacob's inner conflict, his past colliding with his future. When the man sees that he cannot overpower Jacob, he touches the socket of Jacob's hip, wrenching it as they wrestle. Then the man says, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob answers, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The man asks, "What is your name?" "Jacob," he replies. Then the man declares, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have prevailed." This renaming marks a decisive shift in Jacob's identity. No longer defined as the deceiver, he becomes one who wrestles with God. Jacob emerges from the encounter, blessed yet wounded, his thigh injured from the struggle. That injury would remain with him, a tangible reminder of his intimate encounter with the divine. At last, the moment he had long dreaded comes in Genesis chapter 33. Esau approaches, accompanied by 400 men. Jacob's strategy is careful. He arranges his family. The maidservants and their children go first, followed by Leah and her children, and finally Rachel with Joseph. Jacob walks ahead of them all, bowing 7 times as he nears his brother. Each bow signifies his humility, his recognition of past wrongs, and his earnest desire for reconciliation. Yet, the reaction that follows surpasses all expectation. Esau runs to meet him, embracing him tightly. Tears flow freely as the 2 brothers cling to one another. The moment is raw, tender, and transformative. Years of rivalry and resentment melt away in that embrace. Then comes the exchange of words, highlighting generosity and gratitude. Jacob offers gifts, insisting Esau accept them, saying, "Please take the present I have brought. God has been gracious to me, and I have everything I need." After this heartfelt reunion, the brothers part on amicable terms. Genesis 33 verses 16 and 17 notes that Esau returns on his journey, while Jacob moves to a place called Ko, building a dwelling for himself and shelters for his livestock. A new chapter in his life begins. Genesis chapter 33 verses 18 to 20 recounts, Jacob arrives safely at Shechem in Canaan and sets up camp near the city. He purchases a plot of land from the sons of Hamor, erects an altar, and calls it El Elohe Israel, God, the God of Israel. Peace seems restored, yet the harmony is soon shattered by a tragic event involving his daughter Dinah. Dinah, the daughter of Leah, ventures out to meet the local women. Shechem, the son of Hamor, notices her, seizes her, and violates her. Though he falls in love with her and requests marriage, the offense sparks a deadly chain of events. Jacob's sons, especially Simeon and Levi, devise a plan for vengeance. They convince the men of the city to undergo circumcision under the pretext of marriage, and while the men are recovering, Simeon and Levi attack, killing them all. Jacob's reaction is one of fear and distress. Genesis 34:30 records, "You have brought trouble upon me, making me a stench to the Canaanites and the Perizzites. We are few in number. If they unite against us, they could destroy me and my household." This act leaves Jacob shaken, aware of the fragile balance between justice and danger. In response, God directs Jacob to go to Bethel. Genesis chapter 35 verses 2 and 3 portrays Jacob leading his household in a ritual of spiritual purification. He commands them to remove foreign gods, purify themselves, and change their clothes, preparing to build an altar to the God who has faithfully guided him through distress. God reaffirms his covenant, giving Jacob a new name, Israel. Genesis 35 verses 10 to 12 recounts God's words, "Your name is Jacob, but you will no longer be called Jacob. Your name is Israel. I am God Almighty. Be fruitful, multiply, and nations will come from you. Kings will arise from your descendants. The land I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I now give to you and your descendants." As they journey from Bethel to Ephrath, Rachel goes into labor. Genesis 35 verses 16 to 20 describes her struggle. She experiences great difficulty, and though the midwife encourages her, Rachel dies giving birth. She names her son Ben-Oni, son of my sorrow, though Jacob calls him Benjamin. Rachel's death marks a profound loss for Jacob, closing one chapter of his life in grief. Even as Jacob mourns, challenges continue. Genesis 35 verse 22 briefly recounts an incident involving Reuben. He sleeps with his father's concubine, Bilhah. This act, committed by Jacob's firstborn, carries long-term consequences for his place in the family and inheritance, creating tension that will reverberate through generations. Thus, this period of Jacob's life is a tapestry of contrasts, reconciliation and renewal interwoven with tragedy and familial conflict. Yet, through all these trials, Jacob's character evolves, and the trajectory of his family and future generations takes shape. Genesis 35 verse 27 records the next step. Jacob returns to his father Isaac in Mareshah near Kiriath Arba, resuming his journey toward fulfillment of God's promise. That is Hebron, the place where Abraham and Isaac had once settled. Jacob's return here completes the circle of his journey, bringing him back to the land of his ancestors. The passing of Isaac is recounted briefly in Genesis chapter 35 verses 28 and 29. Isaac lived a long life of 180 years. When he drew his final breath, he was gathered to his people, and his sons, Esau and Jacob, carried out his burial. In this moment of mourning, the brothers are united, if only for a brief moment. The story then turns to Joseph, Jacob's cherished son. Genesis 37 verses 3 and 4 tells us, Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, for he had been born to him in his old age. Jacob gave him a remarkable robe, and when his brothers saw the favor shown to Joseph, their hearts were filled with resentment. Their hatred ran so deep that they could not speak kindly to him. Jacob's favoritism echoes the past, reminding us of his own position as Rebekah's favored son, stirring old patterns of rivalry and envy within the family. The robe, described as a coat of many colors, became a tangible symbol of this special affection. Joseph's dreams, recorded in Genesis 37 verses 5 through 11, fuel this jealousy further. In one dream, his sheaf stands upright while those of his brothers bow to it. In another, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bow in homage to him. These visions, though unwelcome to his brothers and even to Jacob, hint at Joseph's extraordinary destiny as the one who would eventually preserve his family. The plot to end Joseph's life marks a turning point. Genesis 37:18-20 shows their first plan, to kill him. Here comes that dreamer, they said. Come, let's take his life and throw him into a cistern, claiming a wild animal devoured him. Then we shall see what becomes of his dreams. But Reuben intervenes, as we see in Genesis chapter 37 verses 21-22. He says, do not harm him. Cast him into this cistern instead, and I will rescue him and return him to his father. Yet Judah's counsel ultimately prevails. Genesis 37 verses 26-28 recounts, why shed our brother's blood? Instead sell him to the Ishmaelites. And so when Midianite merchants passed by, Joseph's brothers lifted him from the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels of silver, sending him to Egypt. To cover their actions, they took Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and soaked it in its blood. Returning the garment to Jacob, they said, examine this. Does it belong to your son? He recognized it instantly. It is my son's robe. A fierce animal has devoured him. Surely he has been torn apart. Jacob's grief is profound. Genesis 37 verses 34 and 35 recounts, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for many days. Though his sons and daughters sought to comfort him, he refused. I shall mourn until I join him in the grave, he said. And so Jacob wept for Joseph, unaware of the trials that lay ahead for his beloved son. Years pass under the shadow of famine in Canaan. Genesis chapter 42 verses 1 and 2 tells us, upon hearing there was grain in Egypt, Jacob sent his sons, saying, why do you stand idle? Go to Egypt and purchase food, that we may survive and not perish. This journey sets in motion a series of events that will test the family's faith, including Simeon's detention and the demand for Benjamin on the next visit. Jacob's anguish is palpable. Genesis 42 verse 36 captures his voice. You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you would take Benjamin. Everything is against me. His hesitation to send Benjamin, Rachel's last son, is understandable in light of his past losses. On the second trip to Egypt, Judah's insistence and personal guarantee convinced Jacob to allow Benjamin to go. Genesis 43 verses 11-14 narrates Jacob blessing the mission. If it must be, Then do this. Place some of the best products of the land in your bags as a gift. A little balm, a little honey, some spices, pistachios, and almonds. Take double the silver, and bring your brother also. May God Almighty grant you mercy, so your brother may return with you. Finally, Joseph's revelation in Genesis 45 stands as one of the most emotional moments in the Bible. When he unveils himself to his brothers, he sends them with a message to Jacob. Hurry back to my father. God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Live in Goshen near me. I will provide for you, your children, your flocks, and your possessions. 5 more years of famine are yet to come, so you must not delay, lest you and your household suffer. At first, Jacob cannot believe the news. Genesis 45 verses 26 to 28 recounts his reaction. Joseph is alive and ruler over all Egypt. Yet as the full account is told and Joseph's gifts are presented, Jacob's spirit revives. He exclaims, "I am convinced my son Joseph is indeed alive. I will go and see him before I die." Jacob's initial hesitation is understandable. The news he received carried immense weight, stirring fear and uncertainty within him. Yet, in the quiet of Beersheba, God confirmed his promise to Jacob through a vision. Genesis chapter 46 verses 2 to 4 recounts the moment. God spoke to Israel in a vision at night, saying, "Jacob, Jacob." He replied, "Here I am." Then God said, "I am the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation there. I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again. Joseph's own hand will close your eyes." The journey to Egypt led to a reunion filled with tears, relief, and the weight of decades apart. Genesis chapter 46 verses 29 and 30 tells us, Joseph prepared his chariot and went to Goshen to meet his father. When he finally saw Jacob, he threw his arms around him and wept. Long after, Israel whispered to Joseph, "Now I am ready to die, for I have seen you alive." Settling in Goshen marked the beginning of the final chapter of Jacob's life. In Genesis chapter 47 verses 7 to 10, we read of Jacob's encounter with Pharaoh. Joseph brought his father before Pharaoh, and after Jacob blessed him, Pharaoh asked, "How old are you?" Jacob replied, "The years of my pilgrimage are 130. My life has been few and difficult, and it does not compare to the years of my father's journey." Following this, Jacob blessed Pharaoh and departed. The last 17 years of Jacob's life were marked by relative peace, prosperity, and growth. Genesis chapter 47 verses 27 and 28 highlights. The Israelites settled in the land of Goshen. They acquired property there, and they became fruitful and multiplied greatly. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years, reaching the age of 147. During this time, he bestowed his final blessings, recorded in Genesis chapter 48 and 49. He adopted Joseph's sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, as his own, elevating them to the status of tribes. In a reflection of his own journey, Jacob crossed his hands, giving the younger Ephraim the greater blessing. The prophecies for each of Jacob's 12 sons carry rich symbolism and guidance for Israel's future. Each son received a blessing, or, in some cases, a warning that would shape the destiny of his descendants. Jacob also provided clear instructions for his burial. Genesis chapter 49 verses 29 through 32 records his words. "I am about to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my ancestors in the cave, in the field of Ephron the Hittite, the cave Abraham bought along with the field as a burial place. There Abraham and Sarah were buried, Isaac and Rebekah, and there I buried Leah." Jacob's death and the national mourning in Egypt are described in Genesis chapter 49 verses 33 to 53. After giving his final instructions, he drew his feet up, breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Joseph wept over his father, kissed him, and directed the physicians to embalm him, a process that took 40 days. The Egyptians mourned him for 70 days, culminating in a grand funeral and burial in the cave of Machpelah. This marked the conclusion of Jacob's earthly life, but not the end of his influence. Jacob's story is one of struggle, deceit, loss, and reconciliation. It demonstrates the faithfulness of God through human imperfection. His journey reminds us that even our failures and trials can serve a divine purpose. Through his life, we witness how resilience, trust in God, and forgiveness can transform broken circumstances into a lasting legacy. Jacob's life stands as a testament to the power of faith and perseverance. From moments of fear and uncertainty to times of joy, reunion, and profound reflection, His journey illustrates the complexities of human experience under God's guidance. He faced deception, betrayal, and long years of waiting, yet each challenge became a stepping stone toward fulfillment of God's promises. His final blessings shaped the future of an entire nation, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire faith, courage, and hope. As you reflect on Jacob's story, consider the ways your own challenges might be part of a larger plan. What lessons can you take from his perseverance and trust in God? I invite you to share your thoughts and feelings about Jacob's journey in the comments. How does his story speak to your life today? Let us explore together the timeless wisdom found in his remarkable story.